financial disaster. It's all coming up on Newsday.
Many Palestinians take it as a given that their former leader, Yasser Arafat, was poisoned. Today, 8 years on from his death, they may well get to find out if they're correct. French, Swiss, as well as Russian investigators will exhume the body in a few hours' time from his tomb in Ramallah.
The PLO chief died at 75, but his French doctors were unable to say for what. Suspicions were further aroused after the TV channel Al Jazeera said analysis of his clothes and toothbrush had found traces of the radioactive element polonium.
Some leading Palestinians are already pointing the finger to Israel, but other Palestinians have said rival factions within the Palestinian politics could have been involved.
Mustafa Barghouti was a friend and a political colleague of Mr. Arafat. He was with him in the last week of his life, and he's also a medical doctor. Tom Hagler asked him if he believes the Palestinian leader was poisoned.
I believe he was poisoned. Whether it was polonium or something else, it remains to be seen. But even if they couldn't find polonium tomorrow on his body, I think there is some kind of other poison that should be investigated.
You knew him well, you were with him in his last few weeks, and you're a doctor. What was his condition like? What makes you personally believe that he was poisoned apart from simply unwell?
Well, because of the symptoms he had. He was otherwise healthy, and suddenly he had a total inflammation of his whole gastrointestinal tract from the beginning to the end. Then later he had low platelet count, both of which indicate some kind of chemical or some other kind of poisoning. And the fact that when he went to Paris, his doctors could not identify any particular diagnosis for his condition. If you put the symptoms together, and you put circumstantial evidence that Sharon was trying to get rid of him.
You say circumstantial evidence. I mean, at that time, what many Israelis would say, it doesn't make any sense to assassinate an aged man who was already unwell at that point. I mean, it would only be bad news for Israel, wouldn't it?
Of course it benefited, and if you read the memoirs that were written by Sharon, the Pentagon Sharon, you will find very clear evidence that Sharon thought even he had a green light to go ahead by Mr. Bush to go ahead and assassinate Mr. Arafat. It's very clearly written about. But at that time, Mr. Arafat was in good health. He suffered from no disease. He did not have diabetes, he did not have hypertension, he was quite active. And I saw him every week. There was no indication that he was getting sick or that he was ill.
Okay, so, but it's still very much speculation, isn't it, on your part? I mean, I was just looking at some of the Israeli papers before coming into this interview, and this is the Jerusalem Post. It's just a peddling of preposterous slander, and the only outcome of this will be even greater mistrust between the Palestinians and Israelis, and that the real outcome will be just even worse news for any potential peace process.
I think what the Israelis are trying to do is simply to cover up a crime that should have not happened.
And that was Tom Hagler speaking to Mustafa Barghouti. Now, Al Jazeera did follow up on this story quite a bit, and they are quoting that French legal experts have also begun to gather evidence on the case in preparation for a possible trial. Now, that includes testimony from people in the West Bank, and that is according to Palestinian officials.
It's obviously generating a lot of talk on social media and in papers around the world. However, despite the widespread international interest in the story in Palestine itself, newspapers such as the Ramallah-based Al-Ayam, I barely mentioned it today, have been moved on to the question of efforts by President Abbas to gain observer status for Palestine at the United Nations. They also covered Israeli responses to the UN bid and progress of the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Egypt in a couple of moments. Staying in the region, we're going to go to Tahrir Square and hear what the mood is like there in advance of the protest.